Welcome back to our Business Partner tutorial series. In this tutorial, we'll be looking at setting up and managing the last of the 6 defaults, cabinet specifications. From the dashboard, we'll go to our default setup, choose cabinet specifications, and as you can see from this screen, this will be one of our shorter videos because there's not a lot to it other than a lot of fields. So in this very top row here, you're basically going to enter your most common cabinet height, and of course most of these, maybe the vanity is an exception, but most of these are pretty common in the industry, although a lot of people would use 96 as their upper measurement for their tall and upper cabinets. But in the metric world of frameless, we use 95 as our number. Then you have your default depths: base 24, vanity 21, tall 24, you might make yours 25, and your uppers 12, or you might make yours 13. So all of these fields throughout this entire screen, here and over here, all of these fields are defaults when you create a new cabinet in the cabinet database. So they're going to be what populates the fields when you say you want a new cabinet. So setting this up will save you a lot of time as you get started making new cabinets or adding cabinets to the database. Now you can also duplicate cabinets in that database, so you could prevent the need to have these defaults or minimize the need for these defaults if you were to always duplicate an existing cabinet. And once the cabinet database is populated, that's a pretty common way to add new cabinets, is find something similar to what you want and then duplicate that cabinet and modify it. But all of these fields have a meaning, and all of these need to be thought through. So let's just run down this list real quick since there's not a lot here. Whether you want to include a top or not. Now obviously in base cabinets, for most people, they would either have some sort of corner blocks or rails or stretchers, so the answer would be no, or these would be unchecked. And then for a tall and upper, you would check it. Checking it will include a part and calculate the materials for that part. Unchecking it will not include a part. Number of finished sides, and this is a finished question. If you're going to take this part to the finish room, how many sides of that part would you finish? So in the case of, say, this adjustable shelf here, you would probably say 2 sides. You're going to finish both sides of it. But the bottom, you might, if you were going to finish this part, only finish this top side and leave the bottom side raw. And even on the end panels, you might finish the interior side or the business side only and leave this side that's going to be up against a wall or up against another cabinet raw. But that's the question that's being asked there. And then the back stretchers, the depth of your stretcher. So on a base cabinet, we're going to have a 4 1/4 inch stretcher, and on a vanity cabinet, but on a tall and upper, we don't have a stretcher, we have a full top. So you're just coming down this list answering these questions. Number of finished sides of those stretchers. The nailer height, how tall do you make the nailer in a base cabinet, in a vanity cabinet, in a tall cabinet, in an upper cabinet. Nailer quantity, how many, if you have a nailer in a cabinet, how many do you put in that cabinet? And then the number of finished sides of those nailers. Subtract nailer from back. So what this does is, if you have your nailer height set at 7 inches and your base cabinet height is 30 1/4 tall or 30 inches tall, it's going to subtract 7 inches off the back, and it's not going to leave you room to nail, so it's not that accurate. It's just basically saying we're not going to add an additional 7 inches of material that runs up over that nailer if you don't in real life, so that you can have fairly good optimization of that material. Again, in the nailers, all of the same questions about the quantity and the number of finished sides. Top front stretcher, depth. And so this one up here was the top back stretcher. This is the top front, same basic questions. And then the stretcher below the drawer represents this part here. Same basic questions. Adjustable shelves. You know, how many adjustable shelves in the typical base cabinet? And again, you can change this at the cabinet level or at the job level, but here you're just saying, when I create a new cabinet, these are the answers that I want to be populated in that cabinet. In a base cabinet, we'd have 1. In a tall cabinet, we'd have 1. In a vanity cabinet, in a tall cabinet, we'd have 7. In an upper cabinet, we would have 3. And then the number of finished sides of those shelves. And then the depth difference. How much shallower is this adjustable shelf than the cabinet depth? And in this case, we've said we want the shelf to be 1.5 inches shallower than the total cabinet depth. And then the number of fixed shelves in a base cabinet, vanity cabinet, tall cabinet, upper cabinet. Number of finished sides of that fixed shelf. Depth difference. Again, we're going to subtract something off of the depth to make room for the back or whatever, or some clearance in the front, or maybe you recess your back like the True 32 guys do. So in that case, we've got to subtract a full inch from the back side of these fixed shelves because we have a 19 millimeter or 3/4 inch hollow space behind the back where the nailer goes, and then we have the back thickness. And then include deck, yes or no. And of course, in this case, we're including deck in every one of them, but if you were trying to have some cabinets for closets, you might eliminate that part. Number of finished sides for the deck, depth difference for the deck, and then cabinet sides. And again, closet guys might change this number of sides for a cabinet to be 1. So they have one side for each cabinet, and then the one side of one cabinet becomes the other side of the next cabinet. And then number of finished sides for that. Over here are the face frame defaults, what sizes you want your face frame parts to come in. And this is here even if you've chosen in your cabinet type to be frameless. We still have the questions here so that when you answer them, they will be there in case you ever do need to create a face frame cabinet. And then drawers and doors, what is the clearance between the doors and drawers for a cabinet? And then what is the drawer depth difference from the depth of the cabinet? How much shallower is your drawer than your cabinet? And then the fillers, what's your standard filler width? So when you drop a filler, that it'll have a standard width to it. And then the toe kick height, your standard toe kick height. And all these questions will be self-populated as you work through the cabinet. So let's jump over here to cabinet setup and go to the cabinet database. And let's just say we want to add a new cabinet. And so when we get to this screen, our options are base, upper, tall, vanity. Let's just go ahead, and of course we have some panels and some toe. And again, if we added a toe and we set our standard height is 4 1/4, then that's what would be populated in there, but we could change it. It's just going to fill in something for us and we could still edit it. So if we say a base cabinet and the style is full access or frameless, and we give this cabinet a name of test, and we're going to say this particular cabinet has an unfinished interior. It's either melamine or it's pre-finished material, and it's going to be an active cabinet in the database. We say add base cabinet, and so all of these answers here, 34.5, 24, 1, 24, 1, all of these answers came from that default setting. That's all that does for you, is populate this so you're not starting with a blank screen. And so that should give you a really good breakdown of what happens when you utilize under cabinet defaults, the cabinet specifications. These are just the answers that are going to be pre-populated into a cabinet when you say you want a new cabinet. And keep in mind that duplicating existing cabinets is a really, really good way of adding new cabinets to the database, because they have all the answers. If you're going to add a new 4-drawer stack, if there were no 4-drawer stack in there, it would be easier to start with a 3-drawer stack because everything else is the same, and then just change what's relevant to that 4th drawer. So thanks for watching yet another business partner estimating software tutorial. Up next, we're going to go over creating jobs, the best practices for that first portion where you start choosing your client and filling out the first screen, the info screen of creating a new job.